When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't out-train her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
Things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Keira Revan, and this is the Sunday 7.
On this edition of the Sunday 7, we get up to speed on the COP29 climate summit in Azerbaijan. We hear from Will Guyatt about President Elon and the crazy world where big tech and politics have intersected. We learn about a cool new invention for cancer patients, and it's crab season on Christmas Island. If you're enjoying the episode, please do share and follow us. We're here 7 days a week with the Smart 7. The 7 biggest stories every morning at 7 a.m. Before we start, it was on this day in 1970 that a US patent was issued for the first computer mouse. Inventor Doug Engelbart gave it the name Mouse after the cable which connected it to the computer. And the first version was a hollowed out wooden block with a single push button on the top. He also worked on a larger project at the Stanford Research Institute, which was a system to allow 2 or more users to work on the same document at the same time. So we owe Doug a debt of thanks, I guess. The UN's annual climate summit is underway in Azerbaijan. COP29 has seen a reduced guest list this year as world leaders try to figure out what exactly a US government run by Donald Trump will do. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres opened the conference and called on world leaders to take urgent action.
The sound you hear is the ticking clock. We are in the final countdown to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And time is not on our side. So doubling down on fossil fuels is absurd. The clean energy revolution is here. No group, no business, and no government can stop it.
The event takes place over 2 weeks and is intended to include detailed negotiations on how climate transitions will be financed. However, Argentina's far-right leader Javier Milei has already instructed his negotiating teams to withdraw from discussions and return home. The fact that the event is taking place in Azerbaijan, which is a major fossil fuel exporter, has raised similar questions to the debate around COP28, which took place in the United Arab Emirates. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev took a pretty aggressive tone in defending his country from fossil fuel critics.
Right after Azerbaijan was elected as a host country of COP29, we became a target of coordinated, well-orchestrated campaign of slander and blackmail. Many other important criteria which should be a basis for evaluation of the country's performance, but not the country's natural resources, which are the gift of the God. They used all the tools in their possession to launch a campaign to boycott COP29 in Baku.
So it's certainly not a harmonious environment as the clock ticks down for action on climate change. Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg was unimpressed by the president and warned that his regime is deeply problematic and was busy protesting outside the summit.
No to greenwashing and no to the Azerbaijani regime, which is oppressing Azerbaijanis, Armenians and many other minorities. Also is a petrostate whose economy is completely dependent on fossil fuels and that is planning to expand fossil fuel production and exports and has no plan to commit to real climate action. So this hypocrisy goes many, many different ways. But we see through their lies and that's why we are standing here.
One man who was happy to hop on a plane was UK PM Keir Starmer, who had some big promises to make for the UK.
I'm announcing a £1 billion order for blades for offshore wind, which will be jobs in Hull. Now that's really welcome news. I'm really pleased. There's a global race on for the jobs of the future in renewables. I'm absolutely absolutely determined that the UK is not just going to be in that race, but we're going to be winning that race, because that race is measured in well-paid jobs across the United Kingdom.
Even by recent standards, this week has been a lot. Elon Musk seems to have moved in with Donald Trump. The Onion just brought Alex Jones's Infowars, and Apple is getting sued for trapping people in its iCloud. When things get weird, there's only one man to call. And that's the Vice President of Technology and Podcasting, the Smart Seven's Will Guyatt. So, Will, I guess Elon really did win the election.
I've followed Musk's career on and off for over 15 years, and I think you're probably right. Whatever happens here, many Republicans believed he helped Trump win the election and will be able to turn the US around, a bit like they believe Donald himself will be able to do. Whatever happens, though, this gets Musk a seat at the table, and his ridiculous new non-governmental government job will give him access to all federal agencies that run America and benefit the market value of his businesses too. He's got his own personal investment in cryptocurrency, and he works incredibly closely with the government on space exploration. He's going to benefit in all of these places.
Tell us more about the Department of Government Efficiency. Surely having two people running it is Donald's first mistake.
That cheeky funster Elon Musk. He's gone and called his new department Doge after his favourite cryptocurrency, which he once pushed on Saturday Night Live and literally made billions of dollars as folk clambered on board. The Department of Government Efficiency is not actually a government agency, but apparently Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will work outside of the government to offer the White House advice and guidance on how to shape up America and make it more efficient. But given Trump that's hired the Fox News weekend breakfast host to be his defense minister and a vaccine conspiracy theorist to be his health leader, I seriously think it's time to buckle up. And despite having no government experience, both Elon and Vivek do have a huge track record for firing lots of people.
Which do you think will happen first? Elon gets fired or he crashes the economy?
Well, thankfully, I'm a tech journalist and not a political writer, but I've still got my money on this all going bang. I'm just not entirely sure in which order that will happen.
Elon's new power trip has more people fleeing X, or Twitter as I still call it. Where's the new cool space to hang out?
Elon Musk and his number 2 at X, Linda Yaccarino, have been telling the world that X is number 1 around the world, has more users than ever before, and we're all turning back to the platform. But that's just not true. Independently verifiable public data points to X having lost around 50 million daily users since Musk took over 2 years ago, and data suggests it's likely to have lost another 5 million in the last week or so, as people have grown tired of Musk's information, lack of moderation, and unabashed support of Donald Trump. It's not Mastodon that's benefiting this time round. Instead, it's Blue Sky, a social network set up by Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, who's already quit the service and thrown his weight behind Musk and X. Blue Sky is a bit like one of those fans of a popular band or show that liked it before it became famous and sold out. Most people say that Blue Sky feels like early Twitter, but that's likely because there's still less than 15 million of us on it, and most of those are these early, open-minded adopters.
And the story about the Onion buying Infowars, is that real? It's so hard to tell these days, Will.
I'm of high confidence that the satirical website has purchased the assets of Infowars in this bankruptcy auction, but the controversial owner of the site, Alex Jones, has made so much noise claiming the auction hasn't yet completed and he's got court action going on. Even I'm slightly wondering whether the Onion has pulled the ultimate joke on one of the internet's most controversial figures. If true, the Onion, which claims an audience of 4.7 trillion readers, claims it will continue to run Infowars, keeping the conspiracies and the end-of-world atmosphere, which Infowars was all about, running through its own lens of satire, not taking life too seriously. This has probably been the wildest year in tech on record, but I never had a satire website separating a convicted atrocity-denying grifter from his life work. That just wasn't on my list of 2024 predictions.
And we said it before and we'll say it again. This year has been nothing but big tech versus big law. Who's heading to court next?
Absolutely. The EU has just slapped Meta with an almost €800 million fine for engaging in so-called abusive marketplace practices, which claims Facebook users are being exposed to ads whether they wanted them or not, and stopping services like Gumtree or eBay from competing on the site. But that's not the one that's hoovered up all the press attention this week, as the consumer champion Which magazine has fired up what smells to me like a no-win, no-fee court case to go after Apple for so-called forcing its iCloud service onto millions millions of customers. For those on Android devices who wonder what the hell I'm talking about, iCloud is Apple's cloud service where you can back up all your files away from your phone or computer. Which claims we're all forced to pay unfairly for iCloud and that Apple just doesn't open its platform up fully to other services so they can offer the same level of quality. Some people are right behind this, getting excited that they might get their cloud storage fees for less, while others are wondering whether spending billions on creating devices and services counts for anything these days. This joins other similar cases against Sony, PlayStation, the App Store, and many more in a queue for a judge and a costly time in court.
Does that mean I'm getting millions from Tim Cook?
Yeah, you better cancel that flight to the Caribbean, which says you might get 70 quid from this if they win. And given we've not actually got to the stage where any of these class action style suits are being heard by judges in the UK yet, it could be a while until you get the equivalent of a free Friday night out on Apple, if ever.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, we find out how a hologram is being used to solve a cold case and why a pill could help you stop smoking. Holograms are becoming increasingly common in the world of entertainment, but now police in Amsterdam have deployed a unique hologram in an attempt to solve a cold case murder. 15 years ago, a sex worker in Amsterdam's red light district, Bernadette Szabo, was brutally murdered and her case has never been solved. She was a new mother and her child was born just 3 months before she was killed. Despite the murder taking place in the middle of a packed red light district, her killer has never been identified, and now police are hoping that a substantial reward and a unique holographic display will jog people's memories. The hologram shows Betty leaning forward to knock on the glass of her booth and write the word help. Cold case detective with Amsterdam police and a Dreijer-Heemskerk is determined that justice needs to be done for Betty Szabo.
We created a hologram that symbolizes her personality. It's not a one-to-one likeness. However, we hope people will remember the case again when they see this. The police did a thorough investigation, and of course there were CCTV cameras everywhere, but it didn't work out, mainly because so few people were willing to talk to us. There are certainly several people who know who committed the crime.
Just under 12% of the UK population still smoke, and smoking remains a serious health risk as about 80,000 people die each year from smoking-related diseases. That puts huge pressure on the NHS, and the government is busy working on the new smoking bill, which will see restrictions on smoking outdoors, bans on flavoured vapes aimed at children, and a rolling smoking ban that will eventually see cigarettes banned entirely. In the meantime, there are various options to help smokers quit, including nicotine vapes and patches. But the NHS is also rolling out a pill called Covarenicline, which will help stop cravings and can be used over a number of months for those who want to quit. Chief Executive of Asthma and Lung UK, Sleet, says it's definitely worth considering.
This is essentially one of the best options available now. It's been proven to be as effective as anything else out there. So from that point of view, it's good. It's really good for people with lung disease. It's the country's third biggest killer. We have the worst outcomes in Europe. We absolutely need to do everything we can to drive down the problems with lung disease, and smoking and secondhand smoking is absolutely one of the key drivers. So it's a really good news story from that point of view.
The pill has previously been available under the name Champix but was withdrawn. However, the new version is improved and has been approved as safe. Thorrun Govind is a pharmacist and healthcare expert, and she says that while vaping has been helpful for people, this pill can prove to be more effective.
If you're going to quit anything, even if it's smoking, there is what we call the cycle of change. And there is that process that you go through when you're making a change. And for some people, it is that hand-to-mouth action. What I would say is, look, stopping smoking is one of the biggest health interventions that you can make for yourselves. Even within 20 minutes, your pulse returns to normal. You know, after 10 years, there's even more great news because your risk of death from lung cancer will have halved compared to a smoker. So look, this is a big intervention for your health. And to me, if there's an armour that we can offer towards patients, then that is positive.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, maybe your phone is spying on you, and a cool new invention to help patients with chemotherapy.
Right after this.
When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't outtrain her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
Welcome back.
We've all become convinced over the years that our devices are spying on us, whether it's that sneaky smart speaker in the kitchen or the mobile phone in your pocket. Tech companies maintain that's not the case, and when you happen to see something you've been talking about, it's more likely to be due to cookies, previous searches or proximity. Now a new documentary called Surveilled, which is due to be released on HBO Max, suggests that in fact we are being tracked. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Ronan Farrow, who investigated Harvey Weinstein, has turned his attention to tech, and he's discovered some disturbing information on how widely spyware is being used, in particular to target journalists.
What's the most objectionable thing that you saw in your time at the company?
One of the moral problems that I had was the journalist murder.
Should people be concerned?
Definitely, yes.
Does NSO know that some of its customers are abusing this technology?
This tool could fall into the hands of the Iranians, the North Koreans, the Chinese. We need our experts to know what is out there.
They targeted my family. My mom, she worked at the hospitals, so they had access to hundreds of data of patients all around the world.
Do you think it's headed down a path of more domestic impact?
These technologies, any nefarious use that we can imagine, we're probably going to see.
Chemotherapy alongside surgery and radiotherapy is one of the most effective methods to treat cancer, but it can also be very hard on the patient, and it causes hair loss, which can make for a very visible sign of a personal battle. Scalp cooling can help prevent hair loss, but hospital-based cooling systems can be awkward and tend to be static, plugged into the wall, which means patients can't move around freely. But Olivia Humphreys has come up with a new alternative, a portable and affordable device called Athena, and she's just become the international winner of the James Dyson Award for her design. She was inspired by watching her mom go through chemotherapy, and her new version could make life easier for many patients across the world. She's on the line. Hi, Olivia. Can you tell us about your invention and how it works?
My invention is Athena. It's my final year college project that looks at minimising hair loss during chemotherapy. It consists of a carry case and a wearable headpiece, and it cycles water up and around the scalp to be worn by a patient during their chemotherapy infusion appointments.
How is this different to existing cold cap devices?
Athena is different to other types of scalp cooling devices in the fact that it doesn't use refrigeration technology. Athena utilises Peltier semiconductors, which are lightweight thermoelectric technology. They don't require constant power, and they don't require to be plugged in all the time, which is what currently happens, which is what my mum experienced.
Some chemo patients find cold capping quite painful. Is this something your device has sought to solve?
One of the key aspects of Athena is the fact that it is a lot more affordable than current technology without sacrificing on effectiveness, making it a more accessible option for more patients.
Does it work for adults and children? Have you considered funky designs for kids' ones?
No, I haven't considered for children, to be honest. It's definitely a fun concept, and you could have a lot of fun with the design process. I'm imagining dinosaur spikes coming out of the headpiece or something along those lines. The lovely thing about Athena is that it's not confined to medical device standards in that it needs to be fitting within a clinic. It's a consumer product. It's designed for people, and a lot of the feedback I did get was the fact that it could be funky and make it colourful, and there's a lot of excitement in terms of what I could do with it. But yes, in theory, if I were to develop it, I would love for it to be available for both children and adults.
Is it environmentally friendly?
While it's incredibly important to me, I'm more concerned about the efficacy and more concerned about the treatment itself. But in terms of the energy usage of Athena, it's a rechargeable battery, reducing on disposable components, and the materials that would be used would be durable enough so that this device could be used on multiple rounds and reused between people and on rental schemes.
How much does it cost? Do patients buy it, or is it the hospital treatment centres that do?
Athena is estimated to cost in and around €1,000. When you break down the internal components, it doesn't cost anywhere near that, but in terms of R&D, that would be one of my estimations, just to make it so that it would be similar to buying a high-end wig if you were to go through chemotherapy treatment. The lower price makes it feasible for hospitals to provide it or for the patients to buy it independently. And in the future, I'd love for it to be available on a rental scheme for free from charities like the Daffodil Centre or volunteer programmes like Look Good, Feel Better in Ireland.
If you're a fan of crabs, there's good news. This year's annual red crab migration on Australia's Christmas Island is back to bumper levels after a low-key 2023. It's an incredible visual spectacle as millions of crabs emerge from burrows in the forests and head to the sea, climbing over anything and everything in their way. This season's migration seems to have kicked off early because of heavy rain, in contrast to 2023 when dry weather delayed it by 4 months. The males are first to the beach where they soak up moisture and wait for the females to arrive, who then release up to 100,000 eggs each into the ocean at high tide. Cheryl Walross is the manager of the visitor centre on Christmas Island, and she's gone viral for her annual description of the little red crabs in action.
As you're driving to work, you are just dodging loads of crabs on the road and loads of chickens as well, because some of the crabs, obviously, they don't make it, and unfortunately they do get squished, but there's no wastage or anything like that from the crabs because the chickens will come and eat them, and then also the crabs also tend to eat each other as well. So it's one of actually the biggest animal migrations on the planet. It's quite mind-blowing in the way there's nowhere that these guys can't get. You know, they've got 8 legs, they climb over bricks and fences and walls. They are what they call a land-based crab, but obviously they did originate from the ocean. They do need the water, which is why they can't travel when it's dry. So once the rains come in the jungle and they absorb all the water, then that means that they can sort of like safely move. It's fascinating.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
88% of the work week is spent communicating, so it's important your team does it well. Enter Grammarly. Grammarly's AI helps teams communicate clearly the first time. It shows you how to make words resonate with your audience, helps with brainstorming, and lets you instantly create and revise drafts in just one click. Join over 70,000 teams and 30 million people who use Grammarly to move work forward. Go to Grammarly.com/enterprise to learn more. Grammarly. Enterprise-ready AI.